My favorite part is when it just like randomly comes back.
This is how professional we are. Welcome,
Yep.
welcome back to Rooster Teeth at E3, presented by Jason Bourne. This is the patch.
Yeah, presented by Ashley's badass skirt.
Yeah, I like that.
Looking good.
It is a very nice skirt.
I decided-
Maxi skirt, strong
I decided
choice.
to go all, like Khaleesi today, like
Yeah.
showing, like repping my I should talk into the mic, repping my dragon pride, and like I had this sweet necklace and everything. I got a claw bracelet.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you
And then
really got tricked
I decided
out.
I was like maybe overdoing it a little bit, so I lost the fancy necklace.
But you're also wearing the red, which is the Targaryen red, so you're kind of sending mixed messages, I
which
think.
dragon am I? You know. There's so this
Is it one of those
skirt comes in
online
like-
quizzes that you're like,
Here's the thing.
which dragon
Yesterday, yeah, it's a BuzzFeed quiz. Yesterday, I said
I'm a
the name
Hogwarts.
of 2 dragons. I said Rhaegal and Drogon,
'Kay.
and you're neither of those.
Right.
The other
so
one.
someone's tweeted me, was like, say the 3rd dragon name, and I was like, I don't remember
Ashley.
it. Yes. That's right. Khaleesi, Ashley. Ashley is Khaleesi's.
So
So we're,
Viserion.
And also
Yeah.
representing the Red
Yeah,
Couch,
exactly.
we've got our resident Michael Jackson cosplayer, MatPat.
yes.
Hey, what better time to dress up like Michael Jackson than
Dude,
E3?
You got it, right?
Right, absolutely.
It's been a year. We had you on last
strange choice
E3
there.
as well.
Yeah, this is like our 1-year anniversary, guys. This is really
Happy
nice.
anniversary to us.
Tradition.
We did
It's
it.
tradition now.
Truly an event to celebrate, I'd say.
Yes.
Yeah. So have you been playing any video games in the last year?
None. Absolutely none.
Well, what have you seen from the show floor? Because we're kind of relegated to the
Yeah, like,
studio.
we-
so
we-
I
sort of
do want to
yes.
remind people before we jump into that
Yeah.
that they can send us questions with hashtag RTE3. We'll be monitoring it, and if there's anything that you want us to talk about that we've seen, hit us up. You see it down there in the corner. Sorry
like
to
which
interrupt.
dragon we are.
yeah.
So have you seen
Drogon,
anything while
all
you've
the
been
way.
here?
Sorry, what's
Have you
that?
seen anything cool out there?
Oh my gosh, I've seen so much cool stuff out there. I'm so sorry that you guys are kind of like trapped in this room to do the podcast.
It's so
like a
hard to
tiny
be
little
us.
box.
It's so hard for us to be
Ha-
at E3.
hashtag first world problems.
Yeah, we got all these games coming to us. We got
It's
air
hard.
conditioning.
The games come to you?
Games
Yes.
come to us on this stream.
I am doing E3 wrong, clearly, because here I am sprinting from location to location.
Next year, you should lock yourself in a room and just say, "Games come at me."
Yeah.
Fair enough. Maybe can I join you guys? Actually, just
Yeah.
lock myself in this room with you.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Tell us about what you've seen on the floor.
So far I've seen a decent amount. I'd say obviously one of the first things I beelined for was Zelda Breath of the Wild.
As you do.
Right? I mean, if you're not going to that thing first thing on when the doors open, you're not going to see it.
The build out for that booth is absolutely amazing.
It's
cool.
beautiful.
I mean, it's amazing. Like even the little touches. Like they even have their carpet. They have like a green carpet to look like grass. Like they basically
Yep.
rebuilt Hyrule in their booth.
yeah.
It's really, really
Did,
cool.
did you go through the whole experience? So they show you. So for those of you who don't know, and I'm looking at the wrong camera. There we go. For those of you who haven't seen it, they actually show you like a precursor. Like here's gameplay. Here's a little cinematic, and then they you're in this small little like dungeon area, and then they open the screen and it opens this like secret passage into Hyrule. It's this incredible transition. It sets the mood so well, and it truly does feel like you're transported to a different land. Like. It's so anti-Nintendo to not have an open booth this
Yeah.
year. Like
It's
it is
unusual, for
It is
sure.
unusual.
But like their approach to this E3 has also been a little unusual.
It is, but I think it's really working for them. The experience that I had in that booth was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's the line is so long. I haven't had a chance to go through it. What I've been doing is I'll go to the exit and like try to peek my
Try to
head
peek
in, like, and then they shoo me off. Then I go to the other exit and I
Yeah.
peek my head in.
There's even secret buttons positioned around the
What?
booth. I kid you not. There are secret buttons hidden around the booth that change things in the environment. And so, like, if you step on one like brown patch, the mushrooms in the pot start to boil and bubble around you. There's something where if you step on one, Link fires an arrow. It's very cool. It's kind of like you gotta check out every nook and cranny of this
What
place.
happens when you smash pots? Do they kick you out of the booth, or do
Yes,
you actually find rupees?
You get removed from E3.
They give you
forcefully.
money.
Yeah,
They're
they're like,
money
"There you
hidden in the
go."
pots.
You should
Yay.
see what their E3 pot budget is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's not
We're
like
here in California.
it's not
mostly
Snoop's,
legal.
but it's a good pot budget.
I will say this though, and a very interesting departure from the series. Speaking of things that aren't present in Link though, in Zelda Breath of the Wild, no rupees yet, which
Oh.
seems like a minor detail, but I think leads to a larger narrative about what story this game is trying
So
to
it's
tell.
like an anti-consumerism,
Right.
socialist utopian
Absolutely.
future.
It's
Absolutely.
Isn't this Zelda? Isn't he this Link? Isn't he also right-handed this time around? Which
no,
is,
they switched him back to left-handed
Did they?
because
Okay,
he's no
'cause-
longer motion controlled, so he's back to his original left hand.
Ah,
I
okay.
did see it. There might have been some art. Maybe it was art and not gameplay, where people were thinking that he was right-handed again, which might like indicate some changes were coming,
Right.
or that it's. there are all kinds. I was wondering if you had a theory about it,
Linkle.
honestly, but it sounds like everything's back to normal.
Well, I am working on I am working on a theory because very clearly you wake up as Link and you're set 100 years in the future from when you entered this like cryo sleep almost. It's a very interesting opening cinematic where you're almost in one of those like alien cryopods and there's this voice telling you to wake up. It's been 100 years and you go out into the wildlands.
So it's called
and-
Fallout 4 now?
Yeah, it is. It is. I like to call it Zelda Skyrim Sword, which I think feels appropriate. But yeah, it's crazy, and you see like the Temple of Time, or what looks to be the Temple of Time, all grown over. It's all like dilapidated at this point. It's all destroyed with kind of these remnant octopus enemies. So it's very interesting. I think it's telling some post-apocalyptic story in the Zelda franchise.
Okay.
But what really sold me on the game was zooming out on the map, and you just see the scale of this thing. Because in the demo that they showed, you unlock a regional map, and it feels very substantial. Like it is a big chunk of land, and they told me that it's only 2% of what the
Holy
actual
crap.
map will
Wow.
be. So it is an enormous game.
I think I remember when they were showing, maybe it was the gameplay they were showing last year, something like that, where they talked about the sheer scale of it, and it's unlike anything.
Yeah.
I remember it was kind of a long demo at the time where they rode like from the top of a mountain down. They like picked out a point on the horizon and then like went to
Yes,
it.
yes.
And it was the gliding, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of has to be huge to support some of those gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, it's also cool because there's a lot of hidden gameplay mechanics in it. So one of the things that everyone was really excited about when I was doing the demo was someone had stumbled across shield surfing. So, you kind of run, you jump, and then you press a different button while you're in midair, and Link throws the shield underneath his feet, and you're actually surfing downhill.
skateboarder?
Yeah, he is legitimately a skimboarder.
It's like
wild.
Legolas in Return of the King.
Don't they do that? Like kids do that in high school with lunch trays or something? Or is that just movies?
The anarchist kid.
We used-
I feel like
the
it's
graphic
used to
like a
novel.
John Hughes film or
I used
something.
to slide down the hill on like lunch trays. Like, what else are you gonna do with lunch trays? You're not gonna put food on them.
Fair enough. I wonder, though, if we're jumping so far into the future, are we Peter Panning it? Is this like Zelda's great-great-granddaughter that we're going to give a thimble? Like, who are we saving this time around? If Zelda is not, she's not immortal.
Right? I don't know.
Maybe this is, it could be granddaughter Zelda. Like
Yeah.
maybe like all the ladies in the line are
All
named
Zeldas
Zelda.
are Zelda.
Well,
Yeah.
that being said, in Skyward Sword, they set up the idea that this is a repeated history, right?
Right.
That the whole Zelda franchise is this repeated myth of Zelda, Link, Ganon, and they're going to reincarnate year over year, and so we'll see how that kind of plays into this game's
It
theme.
became Edge of Tomorrow.
I
is
mean,
what you're
it's
telling
it,
me that
exactly.
Zelda became.
If it's the same Link, but this is like granddaughter Zelda or whatever, he's like pulling a Captain America.
No, he is.
Oh.
He's
Yeah,
creep.
you know
He's
what I'm
creep.
talking
Oh, yeah.
about.
He's number one creep.
Maybe he's since he's like in the future, and all this time has passed. Maybe you're gonna play as Zelda, and you have to invent a time machine, and you have to go forward in time to retrieve Link back to the correct time.
You have to hit
To
88
steal
miles
her
per
away,
hour. It's
yeah.
great. It's fantastic.
Going
Steal her
what,
from your own
north?
Granddaughter.
Yeah, going north.
Faster, Epona, faster. We're never going to make it.
Amazing.
Just my crazy conspiracy theories. I saw a comment here. I'm monitoring our YouTube chat.
Yeah, of course.
And I can't find it anymore. I think it was Jeremy Trainer said that he had seen rupees in one of the demos.
Oh,
but
really?
I can't find the comment to verify where you saw it. So if you have seen
Yeah,
rupees,
let
let
us
us
know.
I'm very curious to follow up on that
Prove
thread.
it.
Well, because one of the things I'm
We
interested
don't even believe you.
Because if there aren't rupees, if this is truly like a post-apocalyptic setting or whatever, maybe the currency as we understand it in the Zelda universe has kind of broken down.
Well, what happened? I mean,
Is it chickens?
and-
Because those are useful in a post-apocalyptic
well,
setting,
right,
but also
exactly.
Yeah.
have
Now all
a
of a
lot
sudden you
them.
enter into this bartering
Yes.
system, which
Yeah.
would be really cool.
And they'd be like, you have been slashing me with swords for 400 games. I'm not going to let you trade me.
Yeah, now I'm money.
Now, yeah.
the
Oh,
Cuckoo's
now
Revenge.
you like,
Right.
now you're not going to
Now you need me. Right.
Or you can either trade it for food or use it as a vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Put it on your head. Hold it over your head.
I will
Zelda.
say though, and I know we've talked a lot about Zelda at this point, but one of the things that's really interesting to me, it is such a strong departure from what we expect a Zelda game to be, right? So there's the stealth meter, there's like a sound meter where it's like, oh, you're making too much noise, they're gonna trip off the guards. There's the temperature meter where it's like, oh, you're going into a cold environment, put on your woolly shirts. There's, your hearts are now tied to cooking, so you have to cook meals in order to like recover hearts. There's so many new gameplay mechanics to it that it's a lot. So as someone who's been playing Zelda games for decades, it's a lot to manage. He has a weight limit, a carry limit, like you would in a typical like Witcher or a Skyrim style
Do you
game.
worry that like all of these mechanics are going to weigh down the game? Like normally Zelda is just kind of a fun game. You don't have to worry about all of these things. Like Nintendo normally takes a much more simple approach to it. And I feel like maybe introducing a lot of these mechanics may make the game not as accessible.
I do worry about that, certainly. Because I, myself as a gamer, I tend to get overwhelmed with those sorts of things. Like, as soon as you introduce a carry limit to me, I start stressing out because I'm the type of guy who wants to pick up everything.
That was a big thing when Skyrim first came out. It was like that limit is always like, oh, I'm going to train up. Like, what do you choose to train up? Yeah, what was it, Constitution or Strength? I don't remember what it was.
Fallout is
like,
strength. I don't
Yeah,
remember
Fallout
about
strength.
Skyrim.
Skyrim, I think is.
I think it's strength also.
I think it is strength. Yeah.
But like that's like always the first thing to come on up.
So I'm looking at Twitter here, and Lara814 is saying that there are some items where the descriptions say they can be traded for rupees.
Oh, okay. So
So-
rupees do. See,
They
don't listen
must
to me.
exist, yeah.
I was hoping there weren't rupees.
I was
but-
working on a theory. You've all just ruined it. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
for-
thanks. So there you go.
Maybe
That
next-
video's scrapped.
Next game we'll have chicken currency. Well, we'll work on that for the future.
Make it. Yeah, Nintendo's like, hey, we've introduced too many new mechanics here. The chicken currency, we're gonna have to leave that
Yeah.
for the next
We're all gonna have
installment.
to stop saying chicken currency because it's too close to lunch, and I keep hearing chicken curry, and I'm very hungry.
You want to get some
So,
chicken curry? I don't think
yeah.
there's any chicken curry at the convention center.
I don't know.
sorry.
Even if there was chicken curry at the convention center, I don't think you'd
Oh,
want
I would
that.
eat it. We're
So-
all mourning the loss of the bacon truck for sure.
I think one of the other things I was most excited about, I'm going to pivot away from
Yeah,
Zelda a little
no,
bit
of
here,
course, please.
was to see some Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yes.
But still, I feel like they're continuing to tease us a little too much. I wanted to see, a gameplay demo. And maybe, there was a little bit of gameplay in that demonstration, but, this is a game I've been waiting for a long time. Mass Effect's one of my favorite series. Are you at all excited for Mass Effect? Is there?
Oh, I can't wait for Mass Effect. It's one of my all-time favorite. Everything's one of my all-time favorite franchises. But no, Mass Effect. The first trilogy was such a compelling storyline. The characters were fantastic, and so I was hoping. I had my fingers crossed this E3 that we would get to see more, or a release date or something.
A year.
Oh, yeah, a year, anything. But
Yeah.
there was like the fact that they showed like developers like working on it. I'm like, oh, this tells us that this
Well,
is
and
nowhere
here's the
close
thing,
to
like,
being done.
They've like re-announced it. They've announced that game like 4 years in a row.
Right.
They announce it every E3 and they announce it every N7 day, and
Yep.
it's always like the developers working. They'll show you stuff that looks like very cool and cinematic, and you're like, yes, I'm like, I don't know, whatever this is, I'm on board.
Yep.
But I still like all we know about are ideas,
Right.
theories. We're like, oh, this is somewhere way super far away where they didn't even deal with any of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, or it's super crazy far in the future where all those
And I think-
different endings are like whatever.
And I
or
think
it's-
when they were showing the demo this year, they even mentioned like you talked about being in a faraway place in a different galaxy. They mentioned new alien races and
Yeah.
all this stuff, but they still only showed like humans and Asari. It's
yeah,
like,
I know.
we
Those are
know
still
these.
showing up. Absolutely.
Yeah, but the thing that I thought was most, honestly, to me, most discouraging was that they padded so much of that reel with real space footage. And I'm like, I don't need NASA's like backlog of YouTube videos to pad. It just to me says I don't have enough content to show a full reel. And so
Yep.
it was very discouraging. I think that we've seen so much announcement, so much hype. I feel like there's no way it could possibly live up to
Yeah,
the
I'm-
wait.
I
and the
agree.
time that we've spent.
I'm going to speculate right now. So the what they did show and this video they showed reminded me a lot of the original reveal when DICE announced that they were working on a new Battlefront. So, and then based on how long it took them to ship the game on a video like this, I'm going to guess Mass Effect Andromeda, holiday 2017. I'm calling it now.
Wow.
Ooh, it's
all
happening
right.
here. That's
that would
great.
be
Right.
nice,
Yeah.
actually.
I
I
would
think
be okay
holiday
with that.
2017
I think
at
it's
this point would be
optimistic.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
very.
based on what we've seen, I think that's a pretty aggressive timeline. My fear, though, with Mass Effect Andromeda is just the fact that, like, how do you top the Reaper threats? Because they did such a good job in that first trilogy of building this threat into something that truly was of galactic proportions. It felt like the universe was coming to an end. Where do you go from there?
Well, that was such an interesting idea for a story as well. Is this super advanced race who just resets the universe every now and then. It's like it's like like playing God. It's like you're gonna see
Yeah.
what happens. You're gonna watch all the technology happen, and then you just come out. You're like, all right, well, let's start
Yeah,
that
let's do
over.
it again.
Let's wipe. It's like reloading a save in a game, right? It's like we're gonna do Galaxy Plus this time.
Yes. New Galaxy Plus.
New Galaxy Plus, yeah.
So pivoting away from Mass Effect, though, one of the other things.
One last thing.
Well, then
I'm
let's not do that.
I'm getting.
This is why I'm not allowed to segue.
People on social media are saying that it already has a March 2017 release window.
Why would they
What?
not
I'm
say
no,
that?
I'm looking for confirmation on that. I can't find.
I hope so.
I mean,
that would
their-
be incredible.
Their Wikipedia page says that, but I mean, I don't believe that.
But you would think that I don't know. You would think that that would have been the cornerstone of their announcement then, if it was
Absolutely.
really that soon.
Yeah.
I guess it looks like it was a leak from Amazon, but you can never trust retailer
Yep.
dates. It's
Yep.
probably just a placeholder. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Okay, so
Sure.
sorry.
No, I was gonna say. So pivoting away from Mass Effect, one of the other things I've gotten to experience a lot on the show floor this year was VR. That's been
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of one of the things I've been trying to hit as much as possible because we all knew that this was going to be a big year for VR at E3, but I don't think, at least I didn't expect it to be as big of an announcement. How many new games are coming out, how many new VR experiences. Bethesda's like, hey, here's a Doom and here's a Fallout experience. Sony being like, hey, here's our slate of 50 games that we're launching with. I got some quality time with the PlayStation VR, and that right now is currently one of my top contenders for just like experience of E3.
I love that headset. I think
That
they've done
headset
a
is-
fantastic
yep.
job manufacturing it. It's super comfortable, even wearing glasses. And the fact, I mean, it's wonderfully made.
It is.
Yeah.
It's so comfortable.
Sony's got they've got a lot more experience than the other headset manufacturers in terms of making that, because they have for years manufactured what is essentially a personal television. Like it's like when PlayStation VR at the time as Project Morpheus was first announced, a lot of the promo images that people were using, they weren't Project Morpheus. They were this other headset that Sony makes.
Right, yeah.
And there's all these, I forget what it's called right now, but all the commercials for it were always like, now you can have your own personal screen on a plane and pretend that there's no one else around. So, they've been doing that for so long, you'd think like they, out of anyone, are going to have it down.
Yeah. So, and I went through. I didn't get a chance to play Farpoint, but it looked amazing.
I actually got hands-on with Farpoint.
Oh, nice.
I had the Move controller with kind of like the gun peripheral, and it was some of the most satisfying first-person shooter combat that I've ever had in a video game.
Wow,
the
strong words.
It was really, really compelling. The ability to like actually pick up my gun, look through kind of like the aiming reticle, and be immersed in this world, and be a Starship Trooper-wise, like be surrounded by these kind of like spider aliens and taking it down, switching guns by throwing it over my back. It was so empowering. It was so intense. It was so immersive, and it just felt very compelling.
They have a really cool demo setup there by that game where they have that gun controller like between screens, and it looks like it's behind glass.
Yeah.
And then they project like the different guns over it, so it looks like the different guns that it would be in game. And I was like, that's a really cool way to convey the idea that this is the gun, all
Yeah.
these guns that you're going to use in game.
How pissed off do you think Nintendo is that they came up with that exact peripheral for the Wii for a crossbow game for Zelda,
Right.
and everybody laughed at it and said it was crap, and now we're like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Hey, it is not the exact same thing. This the Sony one has that glowy ball.
Oh,
on
right,
the
right,
end.
yeah,
totally
Never
different.
forget.
Which also,
Nearly
by the way,
ball.
we
That
all
was always
dismissed
ridiculous.
Move outright, and now here we are once again.
Right?
Well, it's like, once it proves itself useful, I think this might actually be the generation in which all those stupid plastic peripherals that, like, we made a lot of those. Remember, they had the
the wheel,
wheels
yep.
and the tennis rackets and all that stuff.
The
and they
mini
were like,
golf club.
but now if you can go into VR and you feel it in your hand, but then you also like see it, but it looks like a real thing, that might actually be a thing now. I mean, like you said, with Farpoint, you've got the gun, and it feels different. It's
Yeah,
not just
it
like
does.
holding onto a thing like this and like there being a gun in your hand. If you're actually like holding something, it's that immersive experience that you're going for with VR.
Yeah, it really does change the experience, I would say. From if I was just standing there with kind of the Move controller in my hand and using that to shoot versus having physically my two hands on what feels like, an assault rifle or whatever it is, and, the control stick is right at your thumb level in your front hand. It feels much more immersive that way, and it feels like you have a lot more control too. So you mentioned kind of the holographs over top of that gun to show switching it. Like in the game, that's how you do it. You kind of lay the controller over top of the gun in the alignment that the gun is in the game, and that's how you kind of pick up a new weapon. And it's just a very satisfying, very visceral experience when you have kind of something that feels more substantial than just kind of like a stick in your hand.
Yeah. So on Twitter, Peter Hayes F1 is saying that those goggles you were talking about was the Sony TMZ H2.
There we go.
Wow, well done.
Thank
so
you.
using hashtag
Good research.
RTE3, we were able to find that.
Pretty sure they also did a version 3.
Oh, The other thing, so
they're all
Bold,
about it.
bold move. Bold move.
All about it.
You
I
mentioned-
remember because I was one of the people that was like using that artwork, being like, "It looks like a VR thing."
you mentioned, some of the other VR experiences. I went by the Bethesda booth this morning, and they have Fallout 4
Yes.
VR set up so that people can experience it, but they only have one station.
Yep.
And the line is absolutely ridiculously long. It
Yeah, of
wraps
course it is.
several times
Of course it
around
is.
that booth.
Yep.
It's like, you knew people were going to want to play that. Why'd you just bring
Hey,
one?
the economy of want, right? Like you want to make it scarce, so people are talking about like, oh, you got to play that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but there's scarcity, but then there's just like, you're not going to get to play this thing. Because I was actually at the Bethesda conference, and that was one of the things that they had after the conference available to people who had
Oh, nice,
attended.
yeah.
They had 3 booths set up, 2 for Fallout and 1 for Doom. I literally waited for like 2.5, 3 hours
Oh my
and
God.
didn't get to play it because.
Ouch, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because even with that smaller, sample size of however many people were at that conference, still line
Everyone wanted
around,
it.
and I went there first thing. The line was already massive, and I waited the whole night and didn't.
Yeah, if you think about it,
happen,
if
so-
it's a 5-minute demo and you've got 2 stations, you can do 24 people an hour.
Right.
That's
you're
not a lot of
you're
people.
Not a lot of
And-
people.
And I mean, to their credit, and to I'm sure the Bethesda one has it, but definitely all the PlayStation VR demos that I did, they're all substantial. The Farpoint one was between 15 and 20 minutes. The one I did with Resident Evil took around 20 to 25 minutes. So you're taking your time in these environments. They are giving you plenty to play around with
I
these
do
experiences.
not want 20 to 25 minutes of VR
Yeah, tell
Resident
me,
Evil.
tell
that
me
would
about
kill
the
me.
because it looks so
was
so
it-
cool.
It's so cool, and it is so scary. Like,
Did you close your eyes at all?
I
Were you
did
scared?
not.
No,
I know.
okay.
But
Did you flinch and freak out like
oh,
this?
100%. I was in the middle of like a very public area, and I'm just screaming my head off because there were moments that I was so uncomfortable. Like, it's a phenomenal short experience, to undergo for 15, 20 minutes of like just the tension is so high from the minute that you put on the headset. I don't know how I would be able to play a whole game, honestly, because I left and I was just literally shaking from the adrenaline.
Maybe 10 minutes at a time?
Yeah, you have to do it in short bursts. You have to remind yourself that, hey, reality exists. But from the minute you're dropped in, the headsets are put on you, you're hearing creepy noises, you're hearing breathing from on the other side of doors. And so every time I had to open a door, I would like push it open, I would back away, and then I would slowly creep up to the door and then peer around like through the crack in the door, and then I'd be like, okay, nothing's there, and I'll open it. But like like I was calculating every motion that I did. I was listening at every door to make sure that nothing was going to be on the other side. It was so
Were you like,
incredibly
zombies,
intense.
are you there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking to myself the whole time. I was making cheesy jokes. It was terrible.
You're crazy.
You're
Sorry, I mean, wrong
crazy.
franchise. but-
Yes.
Are you at all worried? Like, I mean, a lot of the VR experiences that we've seen, it seems like there may be glorified tech demos. It almost seems like, because we haven't seen too much of it,
Sure.
but a lot of things are billed as the experience,
Yep.
or just like it seems like little bite-sized pieces.
Yep.
Is that the way that we're going to ultimately consume VR games, just like in these small bite-sized chunks, or is there room for anything larger? Like it seems like seemingly like what Farpoint's doing.
I would say there's availability for all those range of experiences, right? And it's going to depend on taste and also kind of the headset you're playing it on, things like that. So, for instance, that 20, 30-minute gameplay demo that I had of Resident Evil, that, I was good with that. I'm like, that was really intense. I need a breather. Like, this is a good breaking
I'm
point.
good.
Yeah, absolutely. Farpoint, that was a 15-minute experience that I could have gone for a good while longer. I was immersed in the world. I wasn't feeling myself, like, getting any sort of, like, motion sickness or anything like that. Like, I was ready for more. I was playing around with the Vive the other day, this game, A Chair in a Room, which is a horror, like a psychological horror game.
What was it called?
A Chair in a
Oh
Room.
my god!
Okay,
I think
yeah,
I
yeah.
played that like
It's-
3 E3s
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
as a
it's one that's
demo.
been kind of seeded around.
Yeah.
It's now kind of in full release, and so I'm working my way through it slowly. And that one, I found myself playing it for like about an hour and a half total.
Wow.
With like at the 45-minute mark, there was like a chapter break, and I'm like, let me take a minute to get out of here, like recuperate, whatever, but then hop back in. So I think it just really depends on what they're looking to convey with that kind of VR experience, right? Like some things are better in a short dose, and other things like, hey, you need that time to like ratchet up the tension and build a story, so that way you do have those like scare payoffs or like that big boss moment where it's approaching over the horizon.
Can I ask like a zoomed out question to everybody here
Ooh.
about
Ooh.
VR?
I love zooming.
Thank you.
Bird's eye view.
So we talked about you have this gun in your hand, you're feeling like very immersed. You're talking about how scary Resident Evil was, how it made you actually like shake.
Yep.
Are we moving into an era with VR where we could potentially like combat situations, people come back with PTSD? Like, are we moving into a world where we could be harming our own psyche because we're giving ourselves such realistic, visceral experiences?
I'm gonna say I don't think so because it's always an optional experience. Like
Very
if
true.
You're opting in to do this, and then if it's too much, you just very quickly opt out.
But do you hit that point of you're shaking after your Resident Evil
Right.
experience? I mean, you're still even if you say like, nope, I'm done. Have you already exposed
Yeah.
yourself to too much?
I mean,
People do
I-
that with movies all the time, though.
Right.
I've been shaky after like intense boss battles too. Like
Sure.
in some games, where you're like, oh my god, I finally did it. Like I can't believe It's
Sure.
I think that's just the adrenaline. It's like riding a roller coaster. Just like getting your adrenal glands kicking.
yeah.
But that being said, though, I think you bring up a good point, and I think it's one of those things that will, the thing we all have to remember is that it's year zero for VR. Like, these headsets are just hitting the market now. They're just starting to get into the consumer's hands. Like, these are the very first VR experiences that are being released to the public, and so I think that in these early days, there's going to be a lot of experimentation. There's going to be a lot of figuring out what works, what doesn't, what do people want, what don't they want. And we'll see the market kind of shift in that direction. But right now, it's kind of the Wild West, right? As everyone tries, like, hey, this is a cool experience. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I think you're right. I think we'll find ourselves honing in on, like, a certain direction of experiences. But like you said, Gus, it's one of those things where it's like a roller coaster. The big roller coasters that are super intense, like, they're not for everyone. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of pick your spiciness level.
Yeah.
And I think, is it the Oculus store or the Vive store actually has a rating with each game that
like
you can
intensity?
buy. Yeah, the intensity
Yeah.
score where it's like, this is a 3 intensity, this is 2. And I think you'll be able to kind of like fine-tune that rating system similar to like a movie rating. Like, I am ready for this, I'm not ready
Right.
for
It
this.
could be like an extension of the ESRB ratings, where
Yes.
it's like, there's a separate VR category talking about the intensity of the experience, and that way people know what they're getting into.
No,
I'm
it's
also-
definitely smart.
Yeah, I'm very curious about, again, with this being like year zero, and events like this are like opportunities for developers to see how people are playing their games and how they're, sneaking up to rooms and backing off. And they're going to come up with all kinds of crazy new stuff. Like, next time you do that, there'll be like someone waiting behind you going,
Oh, absolutely.
like they're going to come up with all kinds of like new scares, or because they're able to see how people are interacting with this totally new medium.
The worst thing I've ever heard. The worst thing I've ever heard is that someone's gonna stand behind me when I'm playing Resident Evil and say hello, because I'll kick them in the face. Like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, we need to have like a social contract with our
Right.
friends where it's like, once I have the headset on, do not fuck with me.
because I will kick you.
No,
Like,
it's true. I had a friend who was doing a zombie VR experience and was in the middle of it, shooting zombies or whatever, or like creeping through the environment, and someone put their hands on their shoulder, just like flipped off the headset, went flying.
Yeah, of
like
course.
screams were had, hilarity
no
ensued.
joke. I run playing a game called Zombies Run, and it's in my headphones. And somebody snuck up on me in the radio drama in my ear, and I screamed and turned around in the middle of a street. Nobody, of course, behind me.
Right.
But too realistic, and also don't mess with me. I'm gonna kick you in the face.
Hey,
it's the worst idea.
it's
ever.
just all of it's just prepping you for the zombie apocalypse when it happens, which we all know
When
it's
it
going to happen.
happens, I'll be like, guys, come on, this isn't funny. Where's everybody?
Oh no,
This
you'll be
whole-"
desensitized to
Yeah.
it. It'll be too late.
Yeah.
Oh, that
You're like, this is like a level 3. I wanted like a level
Guys,
2.
where's my spicy? Okay, it's a
Where's
little
my
too
spiciness
spicy.
rating?
Yeah.
I haven't had too much time to walk around, but when I was walking around yesterday, I did get a chance to play Dead Rising 4.
Ooh, how
which
was
is
that?
another one of the games. I'm a huge fan of the Dead Rising series. I think Bernie and I both, talk about that series
Yeah.
all the time. And it was just dumb, goofy fun. It's like, I'm glad to see, Frank West back, and I thought
Yes.
he was such a great character from the first Dead Rising. And I'm glad to see him paired with, like, because since the first Dead Rising, they've gone in a slightly crazy route with the weapon customization and weapon crafting. So I'm glad to see Frank West with the truly wacky weapons. And since it's an E3 demo, like the powerful armor and the powerful weapons are just there. You
Are
can just
already
pick them
unlocked,
up.
yep.
So it's like, here you go, go to town
Have the
with all this
fun
crazy
part.
stuff. Right, just mow down a bunch of zombies. But I felt kind of bad because it's like an 8-minute demo. It's timed. You have to do all these objectives. I got to the final boss of the demo. I was like, I'm gonna beat him, and he killed me, and I died. And the guys who were running the demo looked and go, "You died? Well, that's the first time that's happened today." I was like,
Shit.
"Oh, I totally
Get
failed."
shit on,
yeah, I
Gus.
was like,
Wow.
Thanks.
Damn.
Good.
Man,
Okay, wait.
trash
Can I
talked by the people manning the
Yeah.
booth.
Can I tell you
Yikes.
that that happened to me like two E3s ago when Project Spark was announced? They were like, all right, here's hands-on with Project Spark, and it's like a little game you play, and there's like, oh, there's a goblin, and then like 2 other goblin buddies came, and they were like, oh, I've never seen that many goblins. Oh, you're gonna die. Nobody's ever died in front. I was like, like there's too many goblins. Yeah, and the guy was like, and I was like, don't touch me. There's too
Here's,
many.
you know,
goblins."
there are some people who play games to break them, to do the unexpected thing. You're helping them, really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
just making
you,
sure
Gus.
that
Yeah.
A part
all
of my service.
My
experiences
sacrifice.
are represented.
You're welcome.
I mean, it's a nice thing that you're
Yeah,
doing.
you're-
it's
you're
very
giving them a
kind
public
of us to sacrifice ourselves to their own
For the greater
their-
good.
for research, really, for
For the
science.
greater
Yes.
good.
I will say that though at these sorts of video game conferences where a lot of new stuff is being shown to the public, there's always that like dev person or booth person manning the booth like looking over your shoulder, judging you the whole time, and like, ooh, I don't know about that one. Like I feel a pressure to perform in those sorts of circumstances that I think at this point I'm starting to overcome. But there's always that like, ooh, I died. Are they judging me? Are they judging me? Like,
You're a
ooh.
man in this industry. Try being a lady in this industry, playing something on the floor where everyone's like, "Look at this bitch. Oh, she died. She
Like,
died.
Girls
Guys,
don't play games.
Bitch died
like-
confirmed."
Like, shouldn't you be
Come
back
on.
at your booth promoting something?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. Are you one of the cosplayers here? Like, actually, I am. I just put myself down, but it was true. Yeah.
So with Dead Rising, what did you craft? What was your weapon?
you
did you
got
have
some
the
sweet
candy
socks.
cane
there was
crossbow?
no, there
or
was.
any-
I did get some Dead Rising socks.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Oh no way!
Hold on, did you get any for Ryan?
No.
He wore his nice socks
He
today,
did. He
Ashley.
upgraded his socks. We're really proud of him. So
They, there wasn't
our,
any-
our other like patch guy
Yeah.
has the
Oh,
worst
okay.
socks. Hold
He's
on,
here
bring on the
to-
good
Where you
socks.
from?
We're hearing so much about your
Please.
socks.
Hey, look at this. Look at this. Hold on. Bring him in.
Oh.
Bring him in. Bring him in.
Very
There you
nice. Very
go.
New
Tried
Show
for
a
you
little
today. You
leg.
put him
We're actually
down.
very impressed.
Very
I was
patriotic.
I thought maybe as a nice reward, he could also get a pair of Dead Rising socks. Really, it's for you,
Just swing
Ryan.
by. Go.
We're gonna go.
Oh, they're
Oh.
out. Oh, he didn't see them. You got to play the demo.
You gotta play the demo.
You were 3 back
Hey.
in the line.
We'll go over later
You
and
saw
be
no
like, check
socks.
out this exhibitor badge. You got any socks?
There it is.
But
We'll
yeah,
give you-
I didn't
we'll-
craft
we'll
anything
stream for
in the
socks?
demo because the weapons were already ready. So there was like an electricity axe.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's like you would swing and like mow people down. Then like when you built up your like super combo, you hit Y and B and it like electrocutes zombies like all in a radius around you.
You know, the stupid crazy weapons were one of my favorite parts about Sunset Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like ridiculous. I'd be like, that's not okay. That's really cool.
But I think it's really the mark of the Dead Rising franchise to be able to, what do I have now? Oh, I have a tank. I'm going to mow down as many zombies as possible.
Wasn't there there's an achievement in the first one for mowing down the population of the town?
It was about 57,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every-
57,000. Yep.
Every Dead Rising has a zombie threshold that you hit as an achievement.
Tell me about it, because I sat there for hours and watched Bernie just drive around.
It was
like,
all
driving
about the
over
parking
zombies.
garage and getting the car and just like running the circuit of the parking garage.
He would do it in like shifts. I'm like, what are you even doing to yourself right now? Are you even having fun? He goes,
Achievements aren't
"No."
about fun. They're about achievements.
Yeah, it's about achievements. You got to get that gamer score up.
Chivos.
I
for
think
sure.
I'm just, mine is so embarrassing at this point. I gave up ages ago. That as soon as they went from like there's achievements, and then there's also the PlayStation trophies, and then there's the Steam achievements that don't give you any points, but you still want them. I was like, they're not all in one place anyway, so like whatever. I'm out.
Yeah, I
No.
feel like they had their heyday. I don't know if people are still really like aggressively chasing those
There happen to
gamer
be
scores and
6
achievements
people
at
that
this
are
point.
Maybe it was an era.
Well, yeah, I think honestly it was because, like you said, now that games are on every platform, they're spread across so many different experiences, and there's different achievements based on whatever platform they're on.
Yeah, I mean, you get
It's-
specific achievements for like a Ubisoft game in the
Right.
Ubisoft store versus like somewhere else, and it's just like
yeah,
ah.
it's like it got too big for its own good, and it's like okay,
Yeah.
moving
that
on.
said, it was like when achievements came out, that was probably, it's got to be one of the smartest moves that Microsoft has ever made in gaming.
Oh, absolutely. The gamification of anything.
Yeah.
You know, the gamification of gaming, yes, absolutely. But like gamification of education and stuff, like all of it makes
Yeah.
total sense. Because we as human beings are programmed to get that little shot of dopamine in our brain every time that we see that little thing flick across the screen.
So, can you tell me something on the floor you haven't played yet, but you're hoping to play?
Haven't played yet, but I'm hoping to play. I'm excited to revisit with my old friend Cuphead. It's a game that I've been watching over the course of
Are
the-
you? Are you?
I am.
Did you play it at E3 last year?
I did, and I loved it.
I was so hyped for that game, and I still really am.
Yeah.
But it's only boss battles.
All
I
the
want
better.
to
Who
go.
doesn't love retro
what do you
boss
mean?
battles?
I haven't
That's the
played it
best
on the
part.
floor here yet, but I heard that they've added more in.
Good, because
That
it was
it's
like,
not just
oh,
straight boss
select
battles.
this boss.
Sure.
And it's like, I want to get to the boss. I want to play even Joe and Mac, one of my favorite Super
Yes,
Nintendo games.
Thank you. High five
Yes.
there. Yes.
One of my favorite Super Nintendo games. Even the levels are so short, and
They
then
are.
you get to the dinosaur. There's still a level there.
There
you
is.
still get to kill some cavemen. I don't want to go into Cuphead and be like, I've entered the boss. I want to be able to play a little bit to get there.
Fair enough. I understand that, and it's funny because I think Joe and Mac when I think Cuphead, we're on the same wavelength.
Yes.
I feel like we have
Thank
something here. It's
you.
great.
Thank you.
But to me, those little like intro levels were just kind of like they weren't hard enough to be challenging. They weren't like you just kind of sped run, I
should,
guess,
but
your
it's
way
like, but
through
you have
them.
to
Work,
just
you
show
gotta work
you-
a little bit.
It's to show you
little
how to use
bit.
your weapons. There's little bonuses you can get. The red eggs that take you to the secret bonus layer. Like, there's so much you can do
Gotta
there.
collect
I
your
think.
stone wheels a bunch
Absolutely,
of times.
you learn how to
Absolutely.
like ride the little pterodactyls. It's stone wheels obviously the best ones, but I mean I enjoy stuff like that. So
Sure.
I hope Cuphead. I hope it's true they've added more in.
Yeah, I'm hoping
I
to
would
try
like
to
to
get
go
back
play
in
it
there and
again,
check it
yeah.
out. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten a chance to check out much of the Microsoft booth either. So I've done Sony, I've done Nintendo. Microsoft is kind of my last one to hit up of the major guys.
Yeah.
And then some of the stuff around here with like a Square, I'm really curious about.
They've got
Kingdom
a huge
Hearts
presence.
2.813
No, 2.8 final prologue.
Remix.
Remix,
53
yeah.
and a third over top
God.
of Pi.
Right, like we just need a whole number at this point,
Right,
right?
like,
Don't we deserve a whole number?
You know, Kingdom Hearts. I love the franchise. I love the franchise, but you make it so hard for me to love the franchise when you're doing 0.8.
I mean,
It's like-
you know, I gotta be like, I started playing when they started doing the handhelds. It was Dream. I don't know.
Dream
it's-
Drop Distance.
No, it was like the very first one they did, and it was like card-based combat. And I played through, it, and I was like,
Oh,
this
Chain of
is-
Memories?
There we go.
Yeah, Chain of Memories.
And I was like, this
Damn,
is
even
not.
I don't know that one.
yeah.
It's like this
I
is
know
like
too much
not
about
the.
it.
It's not the Kingdom Hearts experience I signed up for. So I pieced out, and I
Yep.
haven't really played a lot of the handheld versions.
Yeah.
But apparently that's where so much of the lore comes in, and it's all getting crazy. And now I see trailers, and it's like, oh, this character, and I'm like, that character's never been in one of my games.
It's so true. It's actually one of the things that we get requested all the time on Game Theorist. Like people, it's the most requested franchise at this point that we've never covered is Kingdom Hearts. But the thing I keep telling people is like the lore at this point is so convoluted and buried in all of these handheld experiences that are like additions or side quests or whatever
Yep.
with Xenonat and Xenomorph and like Zemnis and whatever. Like I couldn't create a compelling theory because it would lose everyone in the first couple minutes because it's so lost in itself that you can't tell a compelling story with it. So that's my fear with it, and that's why I was so excited for Kingdom Hearts 3 as a game to hopefully simplify all
sort
this
some of this
chaos.
out.
And yet we're still waiting. We're still waiting.
We'll be waiting for a very long time.
I do want to go back for a second here.
Yep.
On Twitter, VLK_static says that Cuphead has added regular levels with platforming and shooting between boss battles. That's why it's taking so long in development.
Baby,
Great.
yes.
And that's why-
I'm
that's-
happy to wait for it. I'm happy
Yeah.
to wait for a good game.
So does that win you over? Does that win you
Oh,
back
absolutely,
to Cuphead? Okay,
absolutely.
good.
No, I've been excited. I loved the boss. Like the actual gameplay I played was great.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I feel not so hyped that I don't have this like interim experience
Sure.
that's very important to me. So
I get
I'm
that.
very excited. For
Question
that
for you: Have you
Yes.
played Trials of the Blood Dragon yet?
I have not.
Well, we're actually gonna play. We've got it here.
Oh,
so
that's
we're gonna play it in
fantastic.
a little bit. If you got some time, you should
Oh,
stick
we
around
are?
and play
Oh my
with
gosh.
us. Yeah, we totally are. Not
Oh.
right now. Not right now.
Oh.
Well, actually, we're gonna talk to Madden in just a minute.
Okay.
But then after that, we're gonna play some Trials.
Cool.
It looks great.
I'm so
I
excited.
love the way Ubisoft announced that, by the
Oh
way.
my
with, like,
God, it's
the old
wonderful.
school, like, 80s, 90s, like, wrestler
It's great.
intro.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I love the sense of humor, tongue-in-cheek, self-deprecating was great.
Yeah. So for sure, stick around and play with us if you've got time.
Yeah.
But for
if
now,
I'm not trapped in a Microsoft line.
right.
Yeah.
But for now, we're gonna check in with Joel and Adam really quick.
Super cool.